that Pride and Prejudice was set. You look like you're smiling at me.
Oh, sorry, no, I wasn't.
No.
I was just squinting.
I thought you were laughing at me.
No, you didn't ask me to. I will do it.
In the 1800s, it was also pretty common for the lord of the manor to be...
Frog!
Oh my goodness.
Phone is unplugged. Mr. Bossy. So bossy.
Frog alert.
Can I come and see?
It's a frog!
Yeah, come on. We'll do that bit again in a second. Cool. You ready?
Yep.
Let's go. Show me some.
Peter Rabbit. That's what I want to sing. No, that's what the Peter Rabbit thing.
He goes, let's go.
At the very beginning, it goes, let's go.
We started work on this. Cool. Welcome. Hello. Well, do you know what? I'm feeling momentous.
Are you?
Yes.
Why is that?
80 episodes ago.
80.
We sat 3 floors up.
2 floors. Two floors up.
1, 2, 3.
There's 2 floors above us.
Okay.
So it's 2 floors up. We don't live in a skyscraper, 4 floors.
Just like next Saturday is this Saturday, or what did you say?
Don't. Dan said we're going away next Saturday. I said we're not. It's a week on Saturday. Next Saturday
So
is
when
the one that's next.
But what's this Saturday then?
Well, this is the same thing, isn't it? This Saturday, next Saturday. Isn't it the same thing?
Look,
I would always say a week on Saturday. I wouldn't say anyway.
lovely. 80 episodes
80
ago,
episodes.
we sat here for what we thought was... Well, we did. We thought it was 1 episode.
We did.
And we wanted to celebrate the launch
Yeah.
of...
That's a Mr. Stroke Mrs. because
Ooh.
she's just got a jumper on and not trousers.
Cool.
So, yeah.
of Mr. Bakery Bear. And do you know what? I was thinking actually the other day how he changed our lives. And that's unbelievable. Because he came from Bryony, effectively.
Yeah.
Bryony being around, who changed our lives.
Yeah.
And he then changed our lives even more
It's true.
than
It's
Bryony.
true.
And today, 80 episodes later,
Yeah.
I'm feeling momentous because you're launching today a pattern
Yeah.
which is as much you as any pattern I've ever known you do, other than Mr. Bakery Bear.
That's true.
It's bananas. Because it's time today for the launch of the Longbourn.
Longbourn. It's out today.
Oh my goodness. How are you feeling?
Nervous. I
Yeah.
always feel incredibly nervous when I
But
put a pattern out.
more so this time, I bet.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely more so. Because we've done lots of things building up to this.
We have.
and,
We just finished yesterday. We finished the behind the scenes, and that's been really fun and really interesting for us to sort of chart
Yeah.
the process. So we finished behind the scenes, but also what else have we done?
What else have we done?
Yeah.
Into?
What I'm referring to is today's visit.
Ah, yes.
Yes, the new adventures of the Bakery Bears
Yeah.
is back.
Yeah.
And it is the furthest we have ever gone.
It is. It was quite a. It's not that far in miles, really. You said how far coming back it was, and I was like, gosh.
So we went the furthest, and we went the furthest for a reason. And it
did.
was just, do you know what?
It was lovely.
It really was.
It really was lovely.
When you consider the fact that we travelled a long time and we were
Yeah.
all a little bit,
I was
after you travel
quite
a lot.
stressy. I don't travel well, and I was getting quite anxious about the whole thing, really, because I wanted it to go well, and you know how it goes. But actually, it was really lovely, and it all went really smoothly. And
Do you know what's nice is this is the first time in this series of the new adventures that we've gone to a stately home, and we have. Oh, I've given away
nice.
actually the fact that we've been to a stately home, but it doesn't matter. It's the first time we've gone to a stately home, and you know our track record with how we're treated at stately homes by the people who work there sometimes isn't that great. I don't mean that they're nasty, but sometimes
no.
they can be a bit highfalutin. Like, I'm sorry, but there's no taking photos in the house.
Yeah,
Or there's
how we
take
feel
your
about
bag off your shoulder.
things like that. Yeah,
But the place where we went, they were great.
it was fabulous.
My goodness. But that's all to come.
Oh
isn't
right,
it?
I won't tell you about it then. I'll tell you about it later.
It's all to come. Because there's way more important things to talk about. I know you've all been so worried about Kay's bites.
Oh gosh.
Thank you so much for all your advice.
Bitegate.
Bitegate indeed, because that advice, Kay will tell you actually now what happened, but that advice I have been taking heed of also.
Because you've now got bites.
I do.
You react really badly to bites, and you had another couple around here, didn't you?
But what about Headgate?
Oh, and you had bites all on your head. It's been particularly bad this year. The weather's been quite muggy.
That's got to be it.
Humid, and it's been quite a warm summer, really, for England. It's been quite a warm summer so far. But no, the bites, I mean, they're fine now. I might get...
Show everyone.
Well, there's nothing to show, there's nothing to show. You can remember what it was like. That same day that we recorded that I spoke about the bites, we had to pop into town before we went to pick Bryony up. And I said when I was in there, I said, do you know what? I think I'm going to pop into the chemist.
It was lovely. We were having a lovely stroll through town. It was really pleasant.
Yeah, because we don't often go into town, really, do we?
It was a lovely day. Podcasts in the can.
Yeah.
Lovely stroll and cake.
And I said, oh, do you know what? I'm just going to pop into Boots and I'm going to speak to the pharmacist, because they always say in this country that, go to your pharmacist for advice if it's something fairly minor. If you don't want to bother your GP, it's not serious enough for A&E or anything like that, or it's out of hours, or for whatever reason, they say, go into your chemist and ask your pharmacist for advice. So I said to you, do you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to show them the bites and just see if they can advise me on what I can do, or something I can put on them. So I did that. The pharmacist promptly looked at them and said, oh, that could be cellulitis. I think you should go to the walking centre. And I was like, what? I said, it's just some bites, they're really irritating me. And she's like, no, I think you should go. So of course I came out and said to Dan what she said.
She comes up to me and she's white as a sheet.
Well,
I'm like,
they're telling a woman,
my goodness.
They're telling this to a woman who deals with anxiety on a daily basis. You can imagine health anxiety as well. My anxiety is always health related. So I came out and I said, you know what, I'm going to have to go. Now, our walking centre, if you don't know what a walking centre is, in this country, we have something called a medical facility called a walking centre, and it's basically kind of a step down from A&E. If your GP's closed on a weekend, or, it's in the evening and your child's got a high fever, things like this that don't warrant A&E, but you need some medical attention, you can go to a walking centre, which is, as it says, you just walk in and wait and see a doctor. They've recently moved ours, and it's now in A&E, in the hospital. I said to Dan, I'm going to have to go. You're going to have to get Bryony, and I'm going to have to go. So I walked up to the hospital, which is only a 10-minute walk, luckily. And by this time, I was properly panicking. My heart was absolutely pounding out of my chest. I couldn't get it to... I was sat in the waiting room, doing like really slow breathing, just trying to calm my heart down. And I honestly thought I was going to have a heart attack,
But as it transpires, you landed at a hospital, I think, at the optimum time.
Yeah, it was 3:00 in the afternoon on a weekday. So I was the only one in the waiting room, which was brilliant. So I only had to wait 10 minutes, and I saw a very nice nurse, and I told him what the pharmacist said, is it infected? Is it cellulitis? Which, honestly, I haven't even looked at what that is, because I thought, if I look it up, don't tell me.
We don't want to know what it is.
Don't tell me. And he looked at it and he went, no, it's not. It's not infected. It's not any of those. So I was like, oh. So he told me he says, don't even bother putting creams on it. The best thing you can do is just put cold stuff on it. So I just got a cold flannel and I put it on, and I kept renewing the coldness, and actually that really brought the swelling down, and by the next day it had kind of gone down. So, but it caused me a huge amount of stress and anxiety.
Bonkers.
And, I did what we are told to do, go and see your pharmacist, don't bother your GP.
I'm sure there will be lots of pharmacists out there who
sure.
are exceptional at dialing out advice.
Absolutely.
But you will understand it when we say that we probably won't do that again.
Well, I'm not going to rush and go again, am I, when she said that to me?
Not when you're dealing with anxiety.
And...
When we were walking through... It was like deja vu. We were walking through town yesterday, And, I was scratching a bit,
yeah.
and Casey says, do you want to pop to the pharmacist? And I said, do you know what? I don't think I'll bother. As you know, I had a big operation in February and I couldn't run for quite some time. And it's only now really that I'm getting back up to pace. But while I was in my downtime, I was feeling very depressed, wasn't I? About not being able to get out running. So I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll get a couple of maps and I'll plan some new runs. So I did. Planned a couple of runs, but these were tough runs, and I knew I was going to have to be in pretty good shape to go do them. And last week...
Oh, and you have to drive to get to these runs, don't
you? Yes, I do, because they're just a little bit of a distance away. We live, just a few minutes, really, from the Yorkshire Dales, and I thought, let's go for some runs in the Yorkshire Dales. Arrived, set off for the run, amazing, saw the most just stunning wildlife, typically... British summer day, it went from wind. At one point I had my jacket on and I thought, do you know what, I think I'm going to have to leave this on, it's that cold. But it's my running jacket, so it's the high vis one. But I thought, no, I'm being silly, just take it off and go. So I did, took my jacket off, set off, wind, sun, hot sun, rain, everything. Get round this run and it was tough. It was tough. There was one climb where I'm going up it.
It's steep around there.
So I get all the way around this run and I can see the car. It's there in the distance. And I'm going, come on, you're nearly there. And then the track just disappeared. And I don't mean it disappeared in the sense of I couldn't see where the track was. I mean, there was a space. There was physical air that I had to traverse across. So I get to this and I'm like, where's the track gone?
There was a bridge, wasn't there?
Couldn't even see down where it was. So I thought, I'm going to have to... There was like because it was like a proper track, which forestry vehicles would have used, they put in a huge mound of mud to stop any forestry vehicles carrying on down this track and careering straight into this ravine. So I climbed over the top and I looked down. It was some drop down. It must have been 10 foot, 20 foot maybe 15 foot actually. So I looked down and I'm thinking, what am I going to do? And for a moment I thought, am I going to have to go all the way
back?
So I would have... That would have been
4 miles.
It was 4 miles. 4 miles over tough terrain. Because there was no other way back to the car. And the car's there. So I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to have to sit down on the side and slide down. And that's what I did. I slid down to the bottom. I could then see where the bridge was. And I used the bridge as like stepping stones because the bridge was cement and steel, so it was properly firm.
Gosh, I wonder how
in the river.
Collapsed.
Well, it looked old,
right?
But how has it collapsed? Weight to me seemed like the only way it could have done. But traversed across and then climbed back up the other side, and it did remind me of that walk we had, where we had to get across the river, which we told you about before, which was just bananas. And the whole time I was thinking, imagine if Kay and I had just done this walk. Okay. So in that case, Kay Jones, what's on your needles?
I'm going first then. The first thing I've got is some socks, and I've finished a sock and I've popped it on a blocker. This is the pair that I'm knitting for Sarah, where she's knitting all of these socks for the patients in the hospice where she works. So I finished a sock.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just, it looks lovely actually, doesn't it? It's just,
I like the heel.
Plain. Yeah, I'm going to talk about heels. Everybody.
Oh.
Possibly tiny bit of a rant.
Oh.
Okay.
Controversial.
It is controversial, and do you know what? This is just me talking, so I know people are not... Everyone are not necessarily going to agree, but do you know what? No. Everybody has a different opinion, and I like hearing everybody's opinions.
What a boring place it would be if we all thought the same thing.
It would, wouldn't it? So there we go. I finished a sock, and this is the West Yorkshire Spinners, the Marie Curie colourway, and it's dyed in the colours of the Marie Curie logo. So I just did 64 stitches. I knit a longer leg actually than I normally do, because I thought I don't know who's going to get these and they might prefer a longer leg. So I knit a slightly longer leg. I did it heel flap and gusset. Now let me tell you, I tried a different method of knitting this heel flap and gusset. I've been really unhappy with the not even holes. It's not even holes. Just this area here that looks a bit messy when you've picked up. and it's been really bugging me. And I remembered...
That looks okay.
Well, this is perfect. This side is perfect. That side's a bit dodgy.
But we established that, didn't we? Coming down the other side.
One side's always... But this side, I mean, you can see how neat it is. That blue blip you can see there is actually the yarn here. It's actually a perfect pick-up.
It's the side, isn't it, where you're coming down, where you hit the gap first.
Yeah, well, this one was different. I remembered a pattern. I used to watch a podcast called Retro Lemon. You probably all watched it as well. Jenna Krupa. She doesn't podcast anymore, sadly. But I remembered that she'd put out a free sock pattern that had a contrast heel. And it was heel, flap and gusset. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to have a look at it. It's a free pattern. And I followed that for the heel. Now, the only issue I had was that her instructions are for DPNs. And I realised...
Oh, I love that sock pattern already.
Yeah. I realised after I'd finished the heel turn that it wasn't going to work out for me picking up with magic loop because my needles were just in the wrong positions. So I actually switched to DPNs just for the pickup and then changed back to my magic loop. So that was fine. And it is knit differently. You know, the way that you... start it and everything. And one side is absolutely perfect. There's no loose stitch, there's no elongated stitch, nothing. Perfect. The other side is a tiny little bit messy. There's like a longer stitch up here. But even so then, it's still very neat. So I did like it.
Do you know what? The biggest challenge, I think, with nailing that bit of the technique is you only get to do it once in every sock that you knit.
Yeah.
So practicing it and being able to perfect it is really tricky.
Well, she knit a row just straight plain with the contrast first, and you can see what that does is it's a very clean line here. Normally, you know, your first row is a slip knit, isn't it? Or slip. I slip one purl across and then it's the next row. But if you're knitting with a contrast yarn, quite often you'll be able to see that first row of slip stitches in like the other coloured yarn. But this is very clean because she gets you to just knit a row first of all, and then you go on and do the rest. So I really liked the way it looks.
Great.
Yeah, it looks really great, really neat. So I was pleased with that, and then I just did my normal sort of rounded toe.
I also like that. What's that?
It's just a normal slip stitch heel, just a standard. It does look nice though, doesn't it?
It looks way better than any I've ever done.
It does look nice.
Why is that? Why does yours? Is that just because
idea.
You're great and I'm not?
Possibly. And I just did a normal toe. The toe is from the pattern from my sock patterns that I've put out. I just do it's just a nicely sort of rounded toe. And I did something recently. I've been doing this for the last few pairs of socks actually, where you don't get those, you can get those little bobbly bits, can't you, on your Kitchener. But I found a tutorial a while ago on YouTube, and all you do, it's obviously a free tutorial that's out there, and all you do to not get those ears is you don't do the setup bit at the beginning. So do you know when you're doing Kitchener?
I just love that.
And I think Susan B. Anderson does this as well. At the beginning, you don't do that setup. So you just start off your Kitchener and you go knit off, purl on, purl off, knit on. So you don't do that bit before. And then you go ahead, and then it's the same at the other end. You don't do the final bit. You know, once you've gone through those last two stitches once, that's it. You pull them off the needle and you're done. You know, you just weave it in.
Question.
And you don't get those bobbly bits.
Why did you do it in the first place? Why was that bit of the technique in there in the first place, do you think? Why was that Kitchener setup bit in?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. And historically, that's how I've done it. But it did used to sort of annoy me that you did get those little bobbles. And like I say, I found this tutorial a while ago. So the last few pairs of socks I've done this and I've just forgot to mention it.
I suppose the worry will always be, won't it, that if I was doing that, there must be a reason why I was doing that. And what am I losing?
Yeah, and I wondered if
I can't see that you're losing anything.
No, I mean, I wondered if it was like it means there's not as much strength maybe in those end stitches because you're only going through them once, whereas all of the others you go through twice, don't you?
But you've been knitting me socks that way.
Yeah, and
they're
never had a problem. So
I don't think there's an issue.
there we go, and I think it's just a nice toe, that one.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, so that's the first one, and I've cast on the second one, and I'm going with that. I'm using Chowgoos. Do you know the mini twist?
And we'd love to see everyone else actually if you're doing this for Sarah,
Yeah.
then please
And
make
I know
sure you come and share what you're doing in the What's on Your Needles
She's
thread.
got quite a number of people knitting them now, which is fantastic.
So we'd love to see all your socks too.
Yeah. So I was just looking to see if it's doing it yet. No, it's not. I'm using the Chowgoo mini twist, the interchangeables, which I love. However, they keep coming undone. And I used the thing to tighten them, as it says to, and I always use the higher grips, the rubber grips. I always tighten my needles with those, and I've never ever had a needle come undone when I've tightened them with those grips, but these ones do. And it's really, you've got to be careful, because if you lose your stitches off the end of a needle, it's a bit of a nightmare, isn't it? So I'm having to sort of check every few rounds that they're not coming untwisted, and that's kind of annoying me. And I think to myself, why are they even interchangeables? I don't understand why they are interchangeable.
Yeah.
Because why ever would you want to remove it once it's on?
No.
I can't think.
So should I try tightening them up?
Well, you could do. I think the problem is...
Because you wouldn't be bothered if they didn't come undone.
No, I don't want them to come undone. I would never change the tips, because I suppose in theory, if you only bought one cable, you could buy a number of different size tips, couldn't you? 2mm, 2.25, 2.5 or whatever, and just change them out when you wanted to use a different size. But usually people have more than one pair on the go, don't they? And
I'll have a go.
Yeah, but I think the issue is because this bit is so thin compared to other interchangeables, it's hard to get a grip. Yeah, yes. And I think that's the problem. So that's the only thing that bugs me about these cables, but that's quite a big thing, isn't it? Them coming undone, and it hasn't just happened once; it's happened a number of times when I was knitting that sock. So just to let you know that can happen, and I'd be interested to see if it's happened to anyone else. Dan Jones.
Yes.
What's on your mind?
Well, this is great. I'm really enjoying this. It's Susan... Well, of course I'm enjoying it. It's Susan Claudina Handspun.
Lovely.
The woman is a machine.
She's fabulous.
I mean, look at it.
I know.
Look at it.
Maybe her whole body turns into a spinning wheel. Yeah. Maybe she transfigures.
She's a transformer.
She transfigures herself.
Transformer. Oh, you're going all Harry Potter on us.
Oh,
She does the old transfig...
I've been in Harry Potter education mode this school holiday.
That is one of the animagus.
Animagus. Is that how you say it?
Oh, I'm doing quite well there.
I'm brilliant on Harry Potter.
Is it Jim Broadbent who plays that character? I think it might be in the film. Who does animagus?
Oh,
yes.
Right.
Anyway, it's just the best. Do you know what? I think that you would struggle to have a problem with knitting anything in high quality handspun yarn.
It's a lovely experience.
No matter what the project is, it's going to end up good.
It's a lovely thing to do.
So, beautiful handspun. And as I told you last episode, excitement is high, because you always know when you're doing something groundbreaking when the pattern is written on 2 scrappy bits of A4. Yes.
Quality pattern writing.
I'm test knitting. And I said to Kate, what I love about this is, I was looking at the pattern and I'm thinking, how is this going to cable? I can't work this out.
It does.
Yes, I realise that.
There is a cable row there.
Yes, you can see it. You can see it, but it's different to any cable row that I've ever done. And I just love it. There's the most amazing rhythm about what you're doing. And there's been nothing yet which, I go on about. I've said a few times, haven't I, how I find ribbing quite tedious. But they're not when you just twist it up a little bit. And that's funny, because that's literally...
Yeah.
Say nothing. And I'm frustrated I haven't got further, but I have been fairly focused on my sock knitting, as the Dan and Lara project people found out last Thursday. I'm actually really pleased to now be past a certain milestone of my sock knitting, and
yes.
to be able to repick these things back up properly. But I have made a good amount of progress since I showed it
and
last
I was
time.
bothered the pattern might not show because it's this
showing.
sort of stripy, graduated yarn, but
It's
it
showing.
does. It looks lovely.
I think because it's
It's very soft.
Yeah.
What was the base? I forget.
something very, really good. Of course, I have my tag, it's here.
Oh, I think it's Falkland. I think it's this one. Oh, Susan, I can't remember which it is. 2 of his tags have come off. It might be that, because I've written the grammage. Grammage. Is that a word?
That's funny.
Oh, Susan, I don't know which it is. Is it Gail's Art or is it Spun Right Round? I'm not sure. It's one of these, but in any case, it's beautiful. Oh, I might have to steal that bulb pin.
Help
from
us,
there.
No Knit Sherlock. You're our only hope.
You are.
But I'm loving this project. This is, of course, my Messalina Kel, the first one in existence. And it's all, as we work up to Kay re-releasing the Messalina pattern later on this year.
Yeah.
And more about that
Later.
on in the show.
Because I've got the yarn, so I can show you. Right, I've got another
What
pair
else
of socks.
is on your
This
needles?
kind of made sense, and actually I need that other sock that I've put away because I wanted to show you something. I finished another single sock. You see, I finished 2 socks. Sadly, it's not a pair. I finished the first of my Jaws socks.
Sorry.
And there's a real story.
Sorry.
So here's the first one. And this is with the Fish Lips Kiss heel. And as you can see, it's too long.
Oh!
It's too long. Bryony tried it on, and it is a little bit long for her, but she's still growing and she liked them. So I thought, well, that's okay. Even if I have to put them away for 6 months or a year until her foot's big enough, then that's fine. So first Jaws sock done. So I'll tell you the yarns. This yarn is the 5 Moons, which is beautiful. It's showing up more brown, but it is more grey in reality. It's their Sinful sock, and it's really lovely. I'd really recommend this particular base. And it's 20% kid mohair, 55 superwash merino, 25 nylon. So brilliant base for socks, 400 metres. And my colourway is Vermin Light. So that's the grey shark fin colour. And then we've got lovely Zena's yarn as the Ocean. And that's in a soprano base, 75-25, and it's the Don't Break colourway. And then the heel is just Drops Fable, and it's number 106 for the red. And that's the finished sock. And I do think it looks lovely, but the jury is really still out on this heel. I tried it on my foot.
Is it?
Not really.
I think they've given their verdict.
I tried it on my foot, and it was, across this bit area here, it was quite stretched. It wasn't quite so bad on Bryony's.
You're missing the fabric, aren't you? That
Her ankles are not as chunky as mine. Yeah, I am missing that fabric that you add in with the gusset. And then, because it was too long, I'm like, how has this happened? Admittedly, I didn't draw around my foot. I didn't do the whole template thing that she tells you to do. So I'm sure it's my fault because I didn't really follow the pattern. I just knit the number of rows that I normally knit after, after I've done the heel turn.
and that's where it's clearly gone wrong, isn't it?
Not the gusset, I didn't, not after the gusset decreases, obviously, because there aren't any. Once I've finished the heel turn, and you start knitting again from here, it was that I measured, and that was obviously my mistake. When you look at these two together, and this is an interesting thing to do, and these are side by side, the blockers are really... Can you see? You can see the difference. The Fish Lips Kiss goes a good, 1/4 of an inch, maybe 1/2 an inch, further into the foot than your heel turn does. And that's obviously where the difference lies. Yeah, I've never knit it before.
I'm sure if you'd done the round the foot thing and you'd followed it, she would have told you, don't knit so long on the foot.
Yeah, or, you measure, don't you, and put lines and you measure your foot and everything. And I'm sure if I'd have done that, it would have been absolutely fine. But I didn't, so that was that really. But with regards to, I enjoyed knitting the heel. I thought that was quite fun. What, when it's on the blocker, it looks okay. My issue lies with kind of how it looks. And this is not just this particular heel, it's any kind of short row heel, afterthought heel, anything like that. Just not fond of how it looks. And then how do you store them?
It looks like an afterthought, doesn't it?
Well, it's not an afterthought heel, but it's kind of like
Yeah,
that.
I don't mean it. I wasn't meaning that as
I know
an
what you
afterthought
mean,
heel.
yeah.
I mean, it doesn't look like it's part of the structure of the sock.
How do you then store them? I know this is a minor point, but I like them to be kind of neat. And this looks weird with that stuck up. And then I've seen people do this, and this is when I noticed something else.
You did establish, didn't you, that clearly it is a quicker process.
Oh, yes, it's definitely quicker because doing the heel is quicker. But then, if you don't have to knit as many rows on the foot, then that's also quicker as well, isn't it? So it's definitely quicker, and that's
faster.
obviously why people love it. And I know a lot of people love the fit. So this is obviously just my opinion. So I thought, right, okay, I'll fold it like this because I've seen a lot of people sort of show them on podcasts like this. But something I noticed is if you put the foot so it's, flat and then fold it over, it's not in the middle. The heel isn't in the middle. So I thought, what have I done wrong? This has got to be me, that this is not in the middle. So I went looking at loads of photos of projects on Ravelry because there's thousands, thousands and thousands. And the photos that I could see where it showed it kind of like this, theirs didn't look like it was in the middle either. So maybe that's just how it should be. I like symmetry, it should, I wanted to kind of adjust it so it was in the middle, but then this doesn't lie flat.
It just backs up the fact that it isn't part of the structure of the sock. It's like you've knit the sock and that's like added in.
Well, it is effectively, and that's what all these types of heels are. It's basically a tube with this sticking out of the tube, which again, when you buy a commercial sock, that's all it is, isn't it? It's always kind of a short row heel on a commercial sock. That's just obviously my opinion, and I can't see
It's
that.
also my opinion.
Well, you've never knit it. I think you've really got to. I didn't want to make an opinion without knitting it. I can't see I'll do Fish Lips Kiss again. And I'm sorry to everybody. I know there's tons of people out there who love it.
Go for it.
Absolutely. And I said to a friend recently, try it. Because she'd never tried it. I said, absolutely try it. Might love it. And other people obviously do love it. And that's brilliant that there's something out there that people love so much. And it's quick and easy and fun.
If we're talking socks, I love this one. I mean, I really love this one. This heel flap, it's like I didn't knit it. It's like someone else knit it.
You said that, didn't you? It's funny.
How cool is that? Heel flaps always, for me, have been slightly stressful, I think, because sock knitting in general was a little bit stressful because I was having to concentrate quite hard. Now, this is the first time, because this is the third what is this? What type of heels? Eye partridge.
Eye partridge.
Boom! I got it right. It's the third eye partridge heel I've ever knit, and they just get better every time you knit them.
Really?
Yeah, well, I, by the end of this, I wasn't needing to look at the pattern anymore.
Wow.
Which is cool. I really like eye partridge
So
heels.
do I love them actually. I put them into one of my sock patterns. Fairy
Now,
socks, I think, is the eye partridge.
The pattern is the Checked and Squared by Laura Neal, and I really love it.
Yeah, it looks lovely. I love the texture.
Combining that fabric with this yarn, which is a tonal with a few blips in it, is perfect. I think if you did something that was busier, it would totally mean that you didn't see
Yeah.
that. So you want to be using a tonal for this, am I right?
I think yes, but I think it would work with a variegated as well.
But a variegated, you see the variegation, don't you?
You do,
And
but
you don't
having
see
the texture would break up any chances of it pooling as
Right,
well.
right.
Because you're doing some, the gauge changes slightly, doesn't it, with your knits and your pearls? So it might help break up any potential pooling as well. But I think it looks lovely in that. You're right.
I do think, that this stitch pattern, of which I was not, it's so interesting, isn't it? And I'll link it to music here. In my years of playing in theatres and playing in bands, sometimes you would look at your part and you would think, that ain't going to sound good. You know, I'll play it because that's what I need to play, but it's not going to sound any good. But when you actually put it all together, it sounds perfect. And that's what happened with this stitch pattern. You read it on the page and you just think, oh no, I don't think I'm going to enjoy this. Whereas actually, I've enjoyed this the most.
Yeah, it looks lovely.
I've really enjoyed knitting the Stree socks, but I've enjoyed these way more, at least 50% more. So just finished the heel flap, about to do, what's the bottom bit called?
Heel turn.
Thanks. I'll get there eventually. Just about to do the heel turn.
Not learnt anything, has he?
I have. I've done lots of things. But yeah, it's great. You know, if you fancy knitting, if you're thinking, oh, I want to knit a sock and I'm not sure what pattern to do, this one is fun. So give it a go. Not sure what the turn is, but I think it looked good.
I think it might have been a Dutch heel.
Okay.
Was it like a square one?
Yes.
You'll like that. You've
Cool.
knit that before.
Right.
I've given you that to knit before. I like a Dutch heel.
So I'll be doing a Dutch heel then.
Yeah, it's nice. It's the square one, it just looks like a little strap.
All this though, this is the precursor to the excitement that will be the bootstrap with the Balbriggan heel.
And
Come
that's
on.
the yellow yarn that I dyed,
I did a whole Dan and Lara project about the Balbriggan heel last week, so I won't waffle on about that. But I'm really looking forward to getting down that toe, getting it finished, and then as I start the second one of these, I'll be kicking off with the first. And I'll just quickly show you the yarn.
Oh, have you got it there?
Yeah, look.
Look at your little project bag.
This is the project bag. We're in the process of a project bag summer with the Bakery Bear tutorials.
And
the next part of that series is going to be out next Tuesday, so don't miss that. We've already put part 1 out, which was last Tuesday, which Kay took you through all the little extras. And also as well in there, that's the one you made, wasn't it?
Yeah,
we put the measurements for the field bag.
I made this size of a bag in the tutorial, which is a sock size. But there are measurements in there to make this kind of size, which I showed you last time, which is like the field bag size. So there are fabric measurements to do that. And look, I got a new badge. Look, do you like my Harry Potter badge? Oh! We went to the Harry Potter shop in York as well this last couple of weeks.
Yeah, we did. That was cool.
That was after school, wasn't
Yes.
it? So yeah,
Yes.
that was in these last 2 weeks. We've done so much, honestly.
Looky, look. Here it is. This will be a bootstrap sock very soon. 4K.
Oh, it's nice that. I haven't seen that in ages.
Yeah, you did that for me.
Oh, that's nice, that one.
Thank you. And look, I'm all ready. I have my bag and my yarn's there. And my needles are there too.
Oh,
I'm such an
You're all
organised knitter.
sorted.
It's all in my bag. What else is on your needles?
oh, this next project, my goodness. If you follow, I think I mentioned, no, I didn't. I mentioned this on Pop. Didn't mention this on the main podcast. If you follow on Instagram, Laurie, it's Laurie ×5. I know that probably all of you do. She's got thousands of followers, and rightly. Her photos and her posts are beautiful. Recently, she's knit this, I won't even say toy, I wouldn't even call it a toy. This little fella, oh my gosh. He's so adorable, this little fella. And I was like, oh, what is that? I've got to knit it. She told me what the pattern was, and it's a paper pattern. It's not available as a download.
Isn't it crazy
I
that
just
we
love
now
that.
think of that as a, it's a
I know.
paper pattern.
Well, this is an old pattern. It's from 1983. It was first written.
I was 8.
83, 93, it's over 30 years old. And, you know, gosh, it's unbelievable, really. So she told me the shop, 2 shops actually, where it was available. One shop wouldn't ship it to the UK, because this is in America. The second shop did, and it didn't cost me very much shipping either. I think altogether, the pattern and the shipping was about $11, $12. I was very happy to pay that. It came very quickly. And it's from, the shop's name is cottagecreationspatterns.com. That's where I got it from. Fantastic service. The lady actually emailed me the same day and said...
Carol?
Thank you, yeah, and said thank you for your purchase and I'll get that in the mail. I was like, oh, that's lovely. And this is the pattern. It's called Sven Scandinavian, a knitted friend. The pattern, look at the pattern. Look at him. Oh, hello. It's so sweet.
Do you want to see what his back looks like?
Look. There's his back. Oh, he's the most adorable thing. And if you'd seen the version that Laurie's just knit, it is the most endearing little thing you've ever seen in your life. And I wanted one exactly like Laurie's.
Can I just make a decree?
Yeah.
That is his surname.
Scandinavian, yeah.
Mr Scandinavian.
Well, I can't call mine Sven. I'll tell you why I'm knitting this. And Bryony's upstairs, but the doors are shut. She won't hear. Every year, well, the last 2 years, Mrs Claus has knit Bryony something, if you remember. And I thought, oh, this would be a fantastic project for Mrs Claus to knit for Bryony, because he looks like he's come from the North Pole, doesn't he?
Yes, well,
like this little old man who works
works
in the workshops.
Yes.
But she had someone in her class called Sven, and also she knows Sven from Frozen.
Yes.
So she will automatically associate that name with her school friend and Frozen. So I need to think of another name. But there are suggestions of names in here.
Right.
Scandinavian names. This pattern is just fabulous. It's like, it's got all this wonderful information at the beginning, but it's got all these little cute little sayings halfway through. It's like, oh, you're doing really well, go and make yourself a cup of tea and put some sugar in it, and things like this. It's just adorable. So I've started knitting it, and I've actually, it calls for a sport weight, which isn't a common weight in this country. However, Laurie knit hers with various yarns, I think, various scraps, but she used Jamieson and Smith jumper weight, which is a 4-ply, fairly close to sport. I think people would class it as fingering, but I think 4-ply is heavier than a fingering. It's in between a fingering and a sport, I would say.
Wow, that's rustic.
It is, but it's not that scratchy.
No.
So I ordered a bunch of colours from Jamieson and Smith. It's Shetland yarn, 100% Shetland. So I've got loads of different colours, but I'll show you where I'm up to. I haven't done as much as I would have liked to have, because it's school holidays and Bryony's here. And I can't knit it when she's around. But look, he's got a face. Oh hello.
The interesting thing is that will encourage you, won't it? Seeing his face, because you'll look at his face and you'll think, you need a body.
I know, and his head looks very long at this stage, but you put this long hat on him, which comes right down to here, and you know, it just looks so cute. And oh hello. Oh, I know his nose looks a bit pig-like at the minute. I haven't finished his nose yet. You have to do some magical things to finish his nose, but it just looks so sweet. And I ordered a few colours actually for the face, because I wasn't quite sure.
That's a good face colour.
I think this is a good face colour. I ordered just a couple of neutrals. I thought they were a bit pale, and then I thought I'd try this, because you never know what colours look like on screen, what they're going to be like in reality. But this one I think is a perfect sort of face colour. Well, you saw it there, didn't you? And it's shade FC17. FC17. And it's Jamieson and Smith jumper weight. And you get 25 grams in a little ball. You can see that. It's a really popular yarn, you know, all of the kind of, you know, think people like Kate Davies, all that kind of Shetland, Scottish sort of inspired patterns tend to be knit with this. So I think that's a really nice face colour. It's just like a gentle, I mean, look.
Yeah.
It is. It's like my skin colour.
And you know what's going to happen, don't you?
What?
He's going to need a wife.
Oh, well, he can have a wife. There's a pattern in here for Solvig, which is his wife, and Laurie's knitting the wife, and she posted a picture, and Sven was like lying on the table staring at her because she'd knit like a head, and he was just waiting for her. Oh God, it's just really, you've really got to go and look at those pictures. I wanted to use one as like a screensaver on my phone because it's so cute. So yeah, I mean, I've got enough time. I don't think once I start knitting it, you know, properly, when Bryony's back at school probably, then I don't think they really take that long. So he wears this little Fair Isle jumper, as you can see, and there's a pattern in there to knit that. But I just thought, I might just have a play around with that. So I ordered this by Mary Jane Muckleston. And this has just got tons. It's a brilliant book. I just got it on Amazon. I'll just show you a quick sort of inside. It's just got tons, look, of different Fair Isle looks. Because I thought I might want one that's more like this, you know, snowflakes. Oh, that might be really cute. And the yarn colours I think I'm going to go for are something along the lines of this, I think. Which is kind of Christmassy, but not, you know, that's, you know, all year round sort of thing. And then the other thing that Laurie did was the hat. She knit in a Regia yarn, which just looked fantastic. So I went, of course, I'm totally copying you, Laurie. I don't even know if you watch, but I'm completely copying you. But I went through all my kind of self-patterning and I found this opal. And look, I think that will look really cute. It's got kind of all those colours in, so I think that's what I'm going to do, and I think that will look sort of North Polish. Yeah. I ordered this thinking it was grey.
Oh, it's not.
It's not. I really don't know if these colours will show. It looks like opal. It's got all these different beautiful shades. It's so pretty, and the colour number for that is 1280, and then it says mix after it. I don't know if you need to know. So I'm going to use that, I think, for the jumper, for the Fair Isle bit of the jumper, you know, the contrast. Very, very cute and just loving it. And the way that you put the eyes in and the nose, I've never done anything like it with a toy. Brilliant. Just brilliant. I think it just looks adorable. And it gives it such character, depending on, you know, how you do it. Oh, loving it. And I'm using wooden DPNs, even though it's very grippy yarn. And really metals might work better, but I wanted wood because that just seems more in keeping with the project, I think. Oh, love it, absolutely. It's totally my knitting. It's completely up my street. Oh, look.
Look at this. Yes, I've been knitting on this in earnest.
Who's Ernest?
Funny. It's back. It had a little break for a podcast episode and now it has returned. And I still, it's lovely to come back to actually. I rotate my focus between the double knitting and this. I'm enjoying both equally actually, I think. I think what I'm enjoying about this, what I love about the double knitting is the whole Zen aspect. What I'm enjoying about this is the fact that you just feel so great because you're knitting a garment. You think, aren't I clever? Look at me go.
Very clever.
So I've done another repeat and I'm just about to kick into another repeat. And I made a bit of an error today in that all the projects that I've got for you. Look at those cables.
They look lovely.
You must have done them.
No,
I can't have done those.
I think your cables are neater than mine just because of your tension.
Wow. Oh my goodness. It's such fun. Wow. And of course, there they are on the back as well. Now, I'm quite looking forward to following your closing holes tutorial.
Right.
For closing all the holes.
Which holes?
The
where
ones
you've joined in the yarn?
Yeah, where I've joined in the yarn.
Right, okay.
And speaking of joining in the yarn...
That's easy.
Ooh!
Is that your third?
Yes!
Wow.
I've never used 4 balls before in a project.
Wow.
That's unbelievably
I'll
exciting.
have to wind you another one then.
Ooh!
Gosh.
I know. It's
That's
so
exciting. You're doing really well.
Well, it's really, really great fun.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think what it does is when you realise that these things which you put in your mind as barriers to you continuing in your journey, whatever the learning might be, when you realise that actually the barriers are 75% in your head, because you can totally do it, you start to feel a lot more confident in all the other things that you do. And it's something I used to say tons when I was a teacher, and that is, you know, if you aim really, really high, it means that your normal knitting becomes more normal for you. You know, but before, socks were an event for me, you know, hence I only knit a few. And, you know, by just pushing the boundaries, it makes you get so much better at the basics. And I really feel a lot more confident, especially, you know, with getting good on DPNs, I think has affected how good I am on circulars.
All right.
I don't quite know why. I think it might be the yarn management, the project management, because you're having to...
Your dexterity.
Yeah, because you're having to control things more. It's lovely.
It is lovely.
Loving making it. And, you know, nearly we'll have to have a 4th ball party when I add in my 4th one. Amazing. And how many balls did you get me for this?
6, I think.
Ooh! Goodness.
I mean, that should be enough. Gosh, I hope it's going to be enough. Maybe I got 7.
Hope so.
Maybe I got 7.
There does look like there's a few up there.
I'll have to double check.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Anyway.
I normally err on the side of caution, don't I? So maybe it was 7.
If we're talking about garments, I think you should show us a garment.
Well, I've been working on my Wainthrop. You'll all be pleased to know. And I'm actually now just at a little standstill because I'm waiting for a needle to come. It should have come yesterday actually, so hopefully it'll come today. I've been working on the sleeve. Oh my goodness, I'm not enjoying it, everybody, and I think I would enjoy garment knitting more if I tried a pieced garment. Do you know just the old-fashioned way of knitting garments, how my mum always used to knit them? You know, you knit 2 sleeves, you knit a front and you knit a back, and then you sew it all together. Because the part I'm not enjoying is having the whole thing attached to my sleeve, you know. So I'm knitting on a little circular. Doesn't really make a difference what you knit on because you still have to do this. But you're constantly having to do this, you know, and just move it around so that you can work around the sleeve. But I have knit.
Look at it though.
I've knit. Where's the front?
It looks great.
It does look great. Yeah, I tried this on my arm, and this is now to my elbow.
Wow.
So I've still got quite a way to go. So this is just on a 16-inch sock needle, and it's now 2. There's not enough stitches really for the 16-inch, and I thought I'm going to have to switch to DPNs or magic loop. That might change my gauge. And then I thought, I might try a 12-inch because I know you can get 12-inch circular needles, and I don't know how much I'll like it, but I thought, well, do you know what, I'll order one, it might just be worth it. So that's just what I'm waiting for, and I'm going to try that, and if that works out, that's great. And if it doesn't, then I'm going to have to switch to magic loop or DPNs, I think, probably magic loop, just so that I can get it finished. I'm enjoying the actual knitting of the sleeve. I've not got an issue at all with that. It's just all this business. Life's too short for me, you know, to be finagling like that.
You've got to, though, sometimes, just that
I know
little
what you're
bit
going
of...
to say.
What am I going to say? What am I going to say?
You've got to do these things to get the finished product. Is that what you're going to say?
Well, probably not. That probably sounds a lot better than what I would have said, so I'll just go with that.
I've just got to shut up and get on with it.
No, I wasn't going to say that. No, I wasn't going to say that. I think what I was saying is sometimes you put in that little bit of extra effort and you end up feeling... I mean, that would be quite an accomplishment, Kay. It really will. I've not seen you finish something like this
in
a long time.
I absolutely loved the knitting of the body. I knit it so quick and I just really, really enjoyed it. And it was just once I started knitting the sleeve and I'm thinking, this is just a bit of a... But I think a lot of people think that about sleeves. And I don't think I'd feel like that if I was just knitting a sleeve even flat, you know, because you've not got any of that going on, have you? And a lot of people say knitting a pieced garment actually gives you a lot more structure in it, and therefore it fits better on your body and everything and doesn't sag, because I know that sometimes with a one-piece garment, if you like, I know this has effectively got pickups here, but it can get misshapen with wear, can't it, a little bit? So we will see what this needle's like when it comes, and hopefully I like it, and then that will help me just zip down the sleeves. And once I've got the other sleeve done, I'll enjoy picking up. I love picking up stitches. I will enjoy that bit, I know I will. And then it'll be done, won't it?
Yes.
And it'll be a fantastic gift for your mum. Or maybe even if I'm thin enough by then, I might keep it.
Look,
you never know.
Everyone is going. We want to go on a new adventure.
Okay.
They're all saying, where are you taking us? Well,
maybe they skipped forward.
Yeah, maybe you've skipped all
Maybe
this.
you've already seen it, you naughty people.
As we established at the start of the show, today is a momentous day for us because it's the launch of Kay's Longbourn pattern, and it is the most personal pattern I think I've ever known her do. It's the one she's most emotionally involved with. And so we wanted to go somewhere really special to take the photos for the pattern, which we put out a behind the scenes, taking the photos early this week, which people will have already seen. And, you know, for those of you who have, you probably did twig where we're about to take you.
And a lot of you might have guessed as well.
But before we go and have tea with Mr Darcy, I think we should just mention that you will see a brand new face in this first part,
yes.
we were absolutely delighted to find out that the lovely lady who wrote an article in The Last Knitability all about her 100-day challenge is a bit of a Regency specialist. And she's actually written a Regency novel. She was absolutely thrilled and delighted to come and help us as we venture into the world of Jane Austen. So let's just go. Let's go and get on with it as we have tea with Mr Darcy. Welcome to the new adventures of the Bakery Bears, a brand new series where we take you to fascinating UK destinations with amazing new stories. A little over 200 years ago, Jane Austen published one of her most famous books, which told the fictional love story of Elizabeth Bennet and Mr Darcy. In 1995, the BBC aired their adaptation of a book which would feature one of the most iconic moments in British TV history. That book was Pride and Prejudice, and one of its most iconic locations was Mr Darcy's home, which we've come to explore today. Welcome to Lyme Park. Forget that. Welcome to Pemberley. Yes, finally, we're here. It's the visit we've always been destined to make. How long is it since you've been here, Kay?
Probably about 1996.
Wow, that's a long time ago.
A long time.
So that's not long after the filming?
No.
I bet you were absolutely cock-a-hoop, were you?
I was a little excited.
Yeah. So it's 22 years ago that the location managers scoured the country looking for the perfect place for Pemberley, and they used the book because she described it very specifically within the book.
Yeah. So was there a real Mr Darcy?
Well, that's exactly what we're here to find out. Our story starts in 1346 and the Battle of Crecy. This was the second of 3 decisive victories in the 100 Years' War between England and France. King Edward III of England led his army against a much larger French force, but he had with him a secret weapon. The longbow was like the sniper rifle of the Middle Ages. It enabled archers to attack knights at great distances. And at Crecy, the French did not know this was coming. But as we join the battle, it's 4 p.m. and the huge French force is making their move here at Crecy Field. They have attacked the English army's flank and the standard of King Edward's son, the famous Black Prince, named so due to the colour of his armour. To you and I, the capture of a flag in a battle may seem consequential, but the French have taken Edward's standard, and in the Middle Ages this was disastrous. Armies who lost their standard had been known to capitulate, so getting it back was crucial. A charge was led and the standard was retrieved, and in that action the roots of Lyme Park lay. All the knights who fought to retrieve that standard were rewarded personally with land. The land here at Lyme passed into the hands of Margaret Ley, whose grandfather had been one of those brave knights at Crecy. Building back then took time, and it wasn't until 1465 that the first house was completed and recorded as being lived in. But that house only stood for 100 years, and by 1550 the Leys of Lyme had grown hugely in importance, so they needed a house to reflect that, and they started work on this. The house started out L-shaped in plan, with east and north ranges, and as the years passed, improvements were constantly made. But in the 1720s, the final works commence, which created the vista made so famous by Pride and Prejudice. An architect arrived from Venice who added stunning Palladian and Baroque features to the already breathtaking Elizabethan facade. But what of Mr Darcy? Is there a dashing young lead to sweep a maiden off her feet? And most importantly, did they live happily ever after? To discover that, we're going to need to go to the year 1797, the year that Pride and Prejudice was set, to find out who was walking through these gardens. Just like in Jane Austen's book, the house was passing down a family line, but it wasn't the Darcys who owned Lyme, but the Leys. The same family who had built the house still lived here. Sadly, the present owner of the estate, Colonel Thomas Peter Ley, was a little bit of a vagabond. He'd never married, but he had fathered 7 different children to 7 different ladies. Now, to start to understand who he was and who his ladies were, we need to understand what they dressed in and why.
Clothing was made for each person individually. You know, usually made by home, by yourself if you didn't have a lot of money, or if you were lucky, you would have a maid that would do all the sewing for you and help you dress and everything. Or you would go to a modiste or a tailor. You know, at this time period, men really did go to tailors a lot. Men dressed with a lot of flair. There were famous dandies like Beau Brummel who made tailors like Weston famous. And, you know, Weston would literally measure a man and cut a coat to fit him perfectly. So, you know, he literally needed someone else to help him in and out of his coat. And, you know, men would wear patterned waistcoats and tight pants and cravats. And a cravat was really a long piece of starched muslin that a man would tie and knot in his own individual style to show off his flair. Women got their ideas for what dresses and coats and clothing they wanted to have made based on fashion magazines like La Belle Assemblée and based on what other people were wearing. You know, if you lived in the country, you were really out of it, and so you relied on your relatives to write you letters from London or Brighton and you know, tell you what was fashionable. You were always kind of watching what other people were doing and imitating them. You know, when you went to the dressmaker, she was expected to be an expert in what was fashionable. She would fit you, and then, you know, you might have to do several dressings, you know, to make sure that the fit was perfect. And so it was really a lot of work. Jane herself said, "I cannot determine what to do about my new gown. I wish such things were bought ready-made." In terms of fabrics in the Regency time period, fabric was very, very expensive. Muslin was by far the most popular fabric. I mean, there were silks, lightweight silks like sarsenets and silk velvets that were worn for fancy dress. But for everyday, sprigged muslins and patterned muslins were the most popular. A lot of these muslin fabrics were made in India and hand painted. The Indian textile artists actually had books of designs that they knew that Westerners liked, you know, floral patterns and scroll work. They would paint it on the fabric, and this made it very expensive. British merchants and you know, textile industrialists were trying to find a way to make fabrics cheaper and faster, and they came up with the block printing process. This meant that like a muslin would actually be stamped with the design in one color, and then you would stamp over it with the next color, you know, exactly in the same place, and you would keep going until the pattern was complete. So this meant you could have very elaborate patterns, and I actually have an example of a block printed muslin here from the time period. So, you know, the reason that patterns were so popular is that they hid the dirt and they hid wear, and, you know, people didn't have much clothing. So, you know, if you didn't have a lot of money, you would go for a sprigged muslin or a patterned muslin. The other really popular fabric of the time period was a very loosely woven Indian muslin in white that was almost transparent. You know, it was so sheer that, of course, women wore undergarments beneath them, but it was still a little bit risque. So Jane Austen used to make fun of this, and she actually wrote to Cassandra once, describing a woman she saw at a dinner party. She said, "Mrs. Powlett was at once expensively and nakedly dressed." This was a real status symbol to wear white because it showed that if you stained your dress, you could afford to just buy another one. It also showed a kind of innocence that was very popular in an era where classicism was being revived. You know, Napoleon had created his empire and he was trying to be like a Roman emperor, and so these sort of toga-like white flowing garments were really, really popular.
But in that year of 1797, it was all change at Lyme Park because the vagabond Colonel Lay died. Now, he had no legitimate heir, so the house passed to his eldest male child. Now, this boy was the offspring born from a short affair with a maid from a local vicarage, and when he inherited, he was still living with his mum. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, we have found the real Mr Darcy. I can't really imagine how it must have felt like to suddenly be thrust into the world of landed gentry. It sounds like the start of a novel, doesn't it?
Does anyone recognise where we are? I kind of had a heart attack. Do you know where Lizzie and her aunt and uncle have gone to dinner to Pemberley, and they're leaving and they come out of that entrance there, they get in their carriage and then they come round this circle and they go out of that gate there. Does anybody remember that? Oh, I did squee when I saw it. So who was our Mr Darcy?
It's Thomas Lay.
Was he very young and dashing and handsome?
Well, he was most certainly young.
Right.
Because in 1797, when he inherited this house,
Yeah.
he was 5 years old.
Oh.
Now,
A bit too young then to be dashing and handsome.
Yeah. Many young boys would have seen this as an opportunity to go completely crazy, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
And possibly follow in father's footsteps and go off the rails a bit by the time they're 18. But not our Thomas. Thomas, he decided to completely see through his education. And at 21, after doing everything that you would have expected a young boy to have done, he decided to set off out and see the world a little.
Thomas travelled to Egypt and was one of the first Europeans to explore the Nile Peninsula. And here he is, standing proud on the wall at Lyme Park. But he wasn't finished there. With his vast fortune, he continued his journeys exploring Greece, Petra, Jerusalem, Syria, and the Turkish Ottoman Empire. This was truly wild country in the early 1800s, and Thomas often found himself in scrapes similar to Indiana Jones. There's stories of treasure hunting and tales of wrestling crocodiles. After many years travelling, Thomas returned home with the resolution to be everything to Lyme that his father hadn't been. He would be a true English gentleman and lord of the manor.
In the 1800s, it was also really common for the lord of the manor to be the local MP, and that's exactly what Thomas did. He became Thomas Lay MP.
So we have found our Mr Darcy, every bit as dashing and with a worldly charm rare in the Regency age. So where, I hear you ask, is our Lizzie? Well, I'm starving, so we're going to find a lovely place for a picnic, and if you come back later, I promise I'll tell you all about it.
Brilliant.
I'm sorry.
We need the parasol.
I'm going to have to put my parasol on.
Yes.
Oh, do you know that?
How cool was that? Yes, it's the home of Mr Darcy.
Well, you went to Pemberley.
Wow. Now, as you can see, my own Lizzie Bennet.
I've not had it on the whole time because it's boiling in here. So.
Yes, my own Lizzie Bennet has decided to put on her homage to her home. This is Lizzie's
Lovely.
Longbourn.
It feels lovely on, actually. It's got, I've said this before, but this yarn's got a real nice drape and a lovely weight. And I know a lot of you out there have got this yarn to knit it with. So it's just really, really lovely. I love the single ply for shawls. I think it's beautiful. So, yeah.
What we loved so much in that first part that you've just seen is even I could feel, and I've never seen the 1995 Pride and Prejudice.
What?
But even I was feeling...
You've never seen it?
No, I've seen bits. It's a girl thing. It's a girl thing. And that's cool. The place has an aura.
It's lovely. It's such a lovely place, you know, and...
The question is, of course, is there a Lizzie Bennet, a real Lizzie Bennet? Well, you're going to have to tune into part 2 later on in the show to find out. Don't miss it. It's very cool. And wasn't Leia amazing? Leia will be back later on as well in part 2. But just, it really is
That's lovely.
gorgeous.
Thank you very much.
I love it.
Yep.
I give you complete permission.
I can wear it now that I've photographed. I've not wanted to, because we wanted to do all the photographs, didn't we, before?
It is quite warm, so please do feel free.
I'm all right at the moment. I
Are you
might
sure?
have to take it off in a second, but I'm all right at the moment, yeah.
So it will be released at some point today.
I'm aiming to release it before 9 a.m. It will be up before 9 a.m. my time. So there might be a few of you patrons that have already watched the podcast.
To get it on early release.
Yes.
Yeah. So patrons, if you're watching this very late on Thursday very early on Friday, it might not be out quite yet.
But I'm hoping for around about 9 a.m.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I think that we should find out.
Dan Jones?
Yes?
What's off your needle?
Well, would you believe I finished a pair of socks?
Yay.
And here they are.
Oh, they look lovely.
They really do, and the yarn's amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. I've said to you, I'm going to send you a bill for all this yarn.
This isn't an OAC.
No.
Because this has been in your shop, hasn't it?
That's Hobbitland, yeah.
Yes.
Yours is a little bit greener than it, because I dyed
like
yours just as a single skein.
Thank you.
Some of the others have more blue tones in, but yeah, it's Hobbitland.
Very kind. I found these a bit of a slog.
Indeed.
I really did find a bit of a slog. And what's been interesting is, I just think perhaps there's elements of the pattern that aren't quite for me.
Yeah.
Because knitting the checked and squared.
Doesn't have that rhythm, does it?
I didn't have a rhythm when I was knitting those at all. And knitting the checked and squared, it's rhythm central, which is right up my alley. So they're like, I'm flying away with those. They're great. But, in every journey, and I'm on a journey with the Dan and Lara project, there are peaks and troughs. And this, depending on how you look at it, was a peak because it was hard work. But also you could say it was a trough because it was a slog.
It was a peak when you got them finished.
Yeah, it really was.
He was very happy.
Do you know what? I pushed so hard to get these finished.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad to be doing, effectively the video diary, even though it's like a podcast in its own right, as we said before. Because on the morning before I was due to film the last Dan and Lara project, I was like knitting. Come on, finish them. And I did, I got them finished. And had I not been doing that filming, I might not have had them finished even now.
No.
So, it's really helping. So there they are. I don't even want to say, but...
They're really comfy to wear.
Yeah, which is great, but it's just pair number 2.
Oh.
And I'm 5 months in. But, let's think this through. 10 pairs of socks.
Yeah.
And the first 2, I worked out, so it's 10 pairs of socks over 12 months. And I worked out that the first 2 could take me 6 weeks. So that would
Right.
effectively take me to the end of 3 months.
Right.
So granted, I am a little bit behind schedule. But I am partway through the next sock. I will pick up
Look,
pace.
nobody's gonna pick, there's no police out there, is there, waiting to get you?
You should know me well enough to know that I do not shirk a challenge. And I set myself a challenge, and I'm going to do my utmost
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah.
What's off your needles?
Well,
That was an awful... I'm doing it again. Kay Jones, what's off your needles?
I finished my bits and bobs blanket.
Wow.
I've spent a lot of the last 2 weeks knitting this and finishing it off. I haven't written up the pattern yet. School holidays and just lots going on. So chances are it won't be written up until we get back off holiday, and then I'll be getting it through test knitting and all that. So I'm hoping September, sometime late September.
So remember, Platinum patrons, look out for a little video which we will
Yeah.
post with the project when we ask for
Yeah.
test knitters.
So here it's obviously folded up, but oh gosh, look. Oh,
It's ginormous.
it is ginormous. And I've had it folded on the chair like this. I've been looking at it the past few days. It just looks lovely to look at. So as you can see, it's got an I-cord border. I'll just hold up one sort of bit of it, just so you can have a little look. So lovely I-cord border, really nice corners. It might look really simple, and it is really simple, but it took me quite a long time to get the right technique for doing this. Because the fabric of the blanket is very, very stretchy, I had to make sure that the I-cord border matched that stretch. And as you can see, there's plenty of stretch in it. You know, well, that sounds arrogant, doesn't it? But I'm pretty sure that I cracked it. And it just looks lovely.
Well, you did do about...
I can't tell you how many attempts. Because I wanted it to be right. I just wanted it to be right.
I think we spoke about it in length, didn't we, on the last Pop Live on Sunday. And
something just being okay is not good enough for me. I've got to be 100% happy with it. And I am now 100% happy with it, even down to the finishing off and the starting, because I wanted it to look as seamless. That's just here is where it started and ended. And I wanted it to look as seamless as possible. So I did a little technique there just to do that. So yeah, and it weighs 1,080 grams.
wow.
Yeah, and it's huge. It's about 4 feet wide by about 4.5 feet, maybe a bit more long. I did think it was going to be square, but I think just the nature of the fabric has meant that it's a little bit bigger that way. But obviously that's fine because it's a blanket. So yeah, I would say gather in all your bits and bobs, everybody, because the pattern is on its way. And I've said to Dan, actually, I felt kind of lost when I'd finished this, because I've been working on it for 7 months, and it's done now. And I think my favourite bit actually is this last section I did. These colours sort of here running down. There's some Dancing Dog Dye Works, there's some of my yarn here, there's some No Makers, and I just really like the colours that it produces. And it's nice to have some Dancing Dog Dye Works in there because Michelle's no longer dyeing, sadly. No. But somebody sent me a huge, I say huge, it seemed huge to me, little collection of minis, and there were loads of Dancing Dog Dye Works in there. So you know who you are that sent me those, and thank you so much. And I put some in here. I was just thrilled to get them because it was literally sort of a couple of days after Michelle had said that she's not going to be dyeing anymore. So I've now got lots of lovely minis of Michelle's yarn, which is really nice to have. So yeah, it's finished. Pattern is on its way, and I will keep you posted.
You finished?
Yes.
Good. Yes. We can now return to find out, was there a real Lizzie Bennet? Well, as we established at the end of part 1, there most certainly was. And in part 2, we're going to be discovering all about how Ellen met Thomas. So let's go.
So we found a spot for a picnic.
Yes,
Well, to be fair, there's a picnic table
there is.
and there's a nice lake.
Yeah.
And there's a few people, but it is a Saturday. There's not too many people. It's not like Brimham Rocks.
No.
My brain is working today. I can actually remember where we've been in this series.
Oh, we couldn't remember, could we?
No, we couldn't.
No, it's not like Brimham Rocks, but it is very busy.
It is, but it's because it's Saturday.
Yeah, it's a Saturday.
We were going to come yesterday, but the weather, it's a typical English summer.
It is.
So we picked our spot and we came today. Neil, I mean, as far as we didn't really look, there is a restaurant, if you can call it that. It's a restaurant
There's
slash
like a little cafe thing down there, yeah.
Yeah. No, we didn't look at that. So,
No.
But I mean, National Trust is normally okay, isn't
Yeah,
it?
I'm sure it'd be fine for like a cup of tea and a scone or something.
Well, I think they do reasonable. There was people coming out with
Oh,
good
actual food.
good portions. They had good
Portion
portions.
size is important,
Yes,
is it?
yes.
Right.
Well, it looked quality as well. So, you know, I think whether you've come with a picnic, and now you just said it was busy, we got a picnic table.
We did manage.
And there's one spare there now.
Oh, so there is, yeah.
And there's also one spare there now.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think it's got to score relatively highly for picnicability,
I'd probably...
but the setting is not.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably go with... I'll give it a 7. I was going to say 6, but I'll be generous and say 7.
Well, I say 6.
Oh, were you? Well, I was thinking 6.
Should we go with a 6 then?
Let's go 6.
Yes, I think we definitely
He read
should go
my
with a 6.
thoughts.
Our first score is a 6, and it's for picnicability. Now, we are, of course, here trying to discover if there was a real Mr Darcy, but we've not really spoken very much about Jane Austen.
No.
Now, did you know she died, didn't she? She died in 1816. Yeah,
No,
1817.
It's just 200 years.
Yes,
It
of
was
course
the
it is.
200th anniversary of her death just a couple of weeks ago.
And she was only 41.
Yeah, and we think she died of lymphoma.
Hodgkin's
lymphoma is
Yeah.
what they've kind of surmised from the symptoms that were sort of written down and things like that, wasn't it?
And it's really interesting, the story, I think, because she wrote tons and tons of letters, didn't she? That's sort of how she's most and well remembered.
People did back in the day,
yes,
didn't they?
I wish they still did now, to be honest.
Yeah, so do I.
She wrote tons of letters, but after she died, her sister threw away 3/4 of the letters, and there were lots.
Right.
And the reason why she
That's
did
a
it,
shame, isn't
well,
it?
she did it because she didn't want people to read what she'd written about other members of the family.
Oh, right. Oh, because she was quite catty,
Yes.
wasn't she,
Yeah,
Jane
she was.
Austen? I think
She
she
sounds
was.
like a total dude.
Yeah, I think she was quite catty. Quite, you know, she said what she thought, which is brilliant.
It is. And what I think is so sad is that she didn't see the fame which
No, not
she's
at
now
all,
got.
no.
And it was only a few years.
That happens a lot, doesn't it, with artists and authors? It happens an awful lot.
Yeah. It was 1833 actually when
Right.
the fame really hit for her.
Gosh, so that's 100 years
Yeah.
after then. Wow.
And it was, no, not 100 years, because she
Oh.
died in 1817.
Oh, sorry, I'm very confused. Oh, right, so 1727.
Yeah.
Oh, 15 years-ish.
And fame hit when a publisher put all her books together into a set.
Right.
And then it went on sale in 1833, and that's when things went absolutely crazy for her. And it's inspired so many people. Helen Fielding, for example, who wrote Bridget Jones,
Yeah,
was completely inspired to write that story
Right.
after reading Pride and Prejudice.
Really?
Yeah. And it's not, you know, I just picked that one. There was lots and lots of other ones as well.
it must have been. I mean, it is very. When you read Pride and Prejudice, I think it still feels kind of modern because of the way that she spoke about people, and I've reread it recently actually, so it's sort of fresh in my mind. But it doesn't feel 200 years old.
No, not at all. We saw a news report actually with regards to her. There was been things going on, isn't there? Because she's going to go on the £10 note.
She is.
That's just so cool.
Yeah, in September I think it
Yeah,
comes out, doesn't it? A
yeah.
new £10 note, and Jane
Yeah.
Austen's going to be on it, which I think is fantastic.
But
yeah.
I certainly will. I'll be looking out for Jane on.
You never have any money. That's probably why.
No, Kay deals
You
with
never
that.
have cash. We were coming in today, and like the car park sign came up, and he's like, "Have we got money?" I was excited driving in, wasn't I?
Yes. Oh, yes. She was really, really excited. It was great. It was great.
I went, oh. I can see the entrance.
It's the most
where
exciting.
Lizzie pulled up in the carriage. I was
It's the most
like this.
excited I've ever seen Kay, actually, ever, I think, ever.
So was that actually a real Lizzie Bennet living at Lyme Park?
Well, it's funny you should ask that, because there most certainly was. And her name was Ellen.
Ellen.
Thomas Leigh's neighbour was William Turner, and he lived here at Shrigley Hall. Not only were they neighbours, but they were also colleagues, as both men served as members of Parliament. They'd struck up a firm friendship even though William was some 17 years older than Thomas. But in 1826, disaster struck the Turner family. Their only daughter, and so heiress to the family estate, was kidnapped.
The villain of this piece was Edward Wakefield. He was 30 when Ellen was 15, but Edward had political aspirations, and to do that, he needed money.
He had already married once for an inheritance, and he was about to do it again. He sent his servant to Ellen's boarding school, who told the headmistress that her mother had become seriously ill and she needed to see her daughter immediately. Ellen was taken to Edward Wakefield, who told her her father's business had collapsed and he was on the run from creditors. He said her father's banks had agreed to transfer his estate to her, or more specifically to her new husband. He graciously offered to be that husband. Ellen could do nothing other than to agree, and so they eloped to Gretna Green and were married.
Wakefield wrote to Ellen's father and told her that they were married. He knew if he could keep Ellen away from her family, that soon they would have to accept it.
But William Turner was a devoted father. He went to the British Foreign Secretary for help. Wakefield now knew he had to get out of the country fast. He and his new wife headed to France, away from the reaches of English law. With the help of the Foreign Secretary, they were intercepted at Calais. Edward Wakefield was arrested and sent to Newgate Prison. Ellen was escorted home by her uncle and her father's close friend, our Mr Darcy, Thomas Leigh. This was love at first sight, one of those lightning bolt moments, but Thomas, ever the English gentleman, told Ellen they must wait until she was an adult before they were married. 2 years passed and their love had grown more every day. So in 1828, William Turner gave his blessing and Ellen and Thomas were married.
So we have our Lizzie and Mr Darcy.
We most certainly do. And the wonderful thing about Thomas and Ellen is Thomas was prone to grand romantic gestures. He even bought Ellen an Erard harp, which we've actually seen today in the library.
Yeah. Did she play?
She most certainly did. It was absolutely acceptable for ladies to be musicians in that period.
Wow, and what else would she have spent her time doing?
Let's find out.
Handwork in Jane Austen's time period was something that was considered an important female accomplishment. It was really mandatory for a girl to learn how to do needlework. And needlepoint was displayed in samplers where you kind of showed off all of your different stitches. Even if you were terrible at embroidery and needlework, you had to sort of pretend that you weren't. So, for example, in Mansfield Park by Jane Austen, the privileged Lady Bertram, who's very idle and lazy, and spends most of her time sleeping on a sofa, gets her poor relation Fanny to do her embroidery work for her. But, it was actually very popular to do white work, where you would take your white muslin and you would embroider on it with white dots on a white background, white checks on a white background, more elaborate lace and flower motifs in white thread were very popular. And you could also create eyelets with this technique to do lace panels. So even though, you didn't necessarily make your own dress, like, Jane Austen didn't have a lot of money. She was the daughter of a clergyman, but she could still afford a dressmaker. But then she would kind of make her gowns more beautiful by embroidering them or trimming them with ribbon. And this was very common, especially if you had a white gown, to kind of make it stand out from all the other white gowns, you would embroider it. So I actually have an example of this, just so you can see what the Indian muslin looked like. And this is from about 1810, and you can see there's some beautiful embroidery work on that.
In 1830, Lyme Park heard the patter of tiny feet as Thomas and Ellen were blessed with the birth of their first child. Yes, our Lizzie and Mr Darcy had a little girl. Thomas, ever the grand romantic, insisted on calling the little girl Ellen after his true love. Now, I don't know about you, after all that talk of handcrafts, I think it's time that we try to find the perfect spot to have a little knit. And I think I spied a seat, and that'd be a first in this series.
Well, we made it.
We made it.
This is pretty grand.
Very grand.
Because we have a seat. That does
I know.
assuage. It does assuage the amount of small children.
Yes. What does assuage mean?
I don't know, it just sounded posh.
Right.
You see, you put me in a Regency period and I start using words like assuage.
I know, and you could have even got dressed up, couldn't you? This is so cool, right? There's a dressing up room in the house, costume room, I'll say, and you can get dressed in period. Is it Regency period? Yeah, like Lizzie and Mr Darcy, and just walk around the house for the rest of the day dressed like that. We've seen so many people, and you might spot a few, you know, in the shots. You can get dressed up if you want and stay in it all day. Brilliant.
Look, I'm sorry.
We need the parasol.
I'm going to have to put my parasol up.
Yes.
Oh, do you know that works?
It does work. I think it does work.
Oh, I want one.
I want one. Let me
Make me
try
one.
it. Let me try it.
Now,
It kind of does work.
we are sat with the house just over to our left.
Yep.
The moment with it's been voted one of the most iconic moments in British
Really?
TV history. That moment
When he walked
when
around the
over there.
corner?
Yes. That's where we
Amazing.
started
That was just
today's
there.
show.
It was just, I'm looking at it right now, where Mr Darcy walked around the corner when he was all dripping wet.
And there is the lake, of course, where he swam. But I think we should have a little bit of a knit.
Yes.
It's funny that you're knitting in your Jaws sock.
I
because
know.
There is a
There's-
Lego crocodile over there.
Yeah, there's some Lego in the house today as well. There's this thing where...
They're celebrating the life of the man that we've been learning about today,
Yeah.
Thomas Leigh,
And-
our very own Mr Darcy.
And you can follow a trail of Lego through all the rooms, and it's all this kind of things that he would have come across.
Now, as far as knitting spots go, if you were to remove all the people,
Yes, it would be
this is
fabulous.
pretty iconic.
It is, it's lovely.
I mean, it is pretty iconic.
And I was just saying, can you imagine having your wedding here and all the guests out on the lawn, and they've got like old-fashioned toys, you know, like croquet and kites.
So
Fabulous.
If we're going to score it for knittability...
Can we get married again?
Yes.
Yes.
And now I know what we could do. I could like jump in, couldn't I? Yeah.
We could totally do that,
That'd
couldn't
be
we?
amazing.
We could have a Pride and Prejudice themed wedding number 2.
If we're going to score it, it's surely going to score fairly highly.
Yes, I think so.
What do you think? I mean, maybe one off because the
Yeah.
amount of people.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of people.
Because that's the only thing that sort of spoils the ambiance. So what do you think for a scoring?
8.
Right. I was going to go...
Were you going to go 9?
See, it's tricky.
Well, we could go 8.5.
It's pretty cool because I'm sat on a seat knitting.
I know, well,
and
that
it's
is
very rare I get
good,
the opportunity
actually.
to sit on a seat that sinks when you sit on it.
Yeah.
So, 8.5.
8.5.
Cool. So we've got 6 and we've got 8.5. Interestability.
Interestability. Well, I think, actually, we were saying when we were walking around the inside of the house, which, as I think I said before, it wasn't used in Pride and Prejudice, which is a shame, actually, thinking about it.
Yeah, it wasn't used.
It wasn't
All
used.
it says is that there was an issue between the filming crew and the management of...
Right, of the house,
Yeah.
right. But it's actually a much more friendly and warm place than Chatsworth.
Very much so.
It's on a smaller scale, isn't it?
Yes.
And it just feels more of a home.
Yes.
More lived in.
Yes.
And you obviously can't touch stuff, but it's not as cordoned off
No.
as Chatsworth is. You can actually walk into the rooms, which you can't at Chatsworth.
I think what's nice is it's not blingy.
No, it's not blingy. It doesn't
it's
feel
like a
blingy.
house that you or I might live in.
Yeah.
What do we think for interestability?
I think it's quite high, actually. I mean, I'd go with an 8 again, I think.
I'd agree with you.
Ah,
So we have an 8. So we had 6 for picnicability.
yep,
We had 8.5 for our knitability.
yep.
And we had 8 for our interestability, giving us the grand total of 22.5.
Not bad.
And I think we should just stick the leaderboard up over there.
Yeah.
And there
I'm
it is.
looking. Look at me looking.
No, do.
I
do.
was looking at the
Yes, well, it's
leaderboard.
there. Everyone can see it. It slots in quite nicely. It's never going to be one of our favourite places to knit because it's just too far.
It is. It is a bit too far for us.
We
really.
did this especially for Longbourn and for you. But do you know what? I'm so glad that we've come here.
Yes.
It's been
good actually, yeah, it has. And it's so lovely because, I mean, to me, Lyme Park is Pemberley, and I can just see Lizzie and Darcy on that corner there. Oh, butterfly.
Loads of wildlife and
beautiful
it's
butterfly.
just beautiful. It's a big estate actually, similar to Chatsworth.
It's very big estate, yeah.
If you have the opportunity to come here, I would strongly suggest you come here.
Yes, you could easily fill a day.
I would suggest
without a problem.
It's funny because, do you know what? I think I'd tell people to come here before Chatsworth.
I probably would as well. It's just a bit more accessible. Is that the right word? No.
Accessible, friendly, and this place feels a lot more iconic.
It does. It does actually.
Because of that view that you're looking at right now.
Because of that view, and also where you walk in, where you come in on the entrance, that's really iconic with the film as well.
Yeah.
With the series, it wasn't really a film, was it?
And what I love the most about this is, and we say this so often in this series, when you actually just scratch the surface of history, you find stories like Thomas and Ellen's just as interesting as any book that you would ever read. So definitely, if you can, come and visit Lyme Park.
Yes.
And so ends our fourth new adventure.
We came in search of Mr Darcy, but I think we found something so much better. Thomas and Ellen with a story fit for any Jane Austen novel.
But what I love the most about this story is where it started, with untold bravery on a battlefield which resulted in the gift of this land. Without that, there might never have been a Thomas and Ellen.
Who knows how successful Colin Firth's career would have been without that shot. We'll see you next time for more new adventures.
Yay! Oh, do you know what? I love the fact how, and this is why I got so annoyed with the movie Titanic. Because they create a love story that's fictional when you totally could have covered a story that was fact.
Well, that's true.
And I just love the fact that they're sitting waiting for us with, a leading man similar to Indiana Jones and a leading lady who gets kidnapped and forced to marry an evil villain. And then, the leading man rushes to save her. It's like a movie. He rushes to save her and brings her back and married and wonderful. And, a leading man who is an absolute gentleman as well, who, whilst they fell, it was supposedly a lightning bolt moment, and then, they fell in love straight away. He said, there's no way that we're getting married until you are a lady. And so she went back home and she, finished off her education, and then 2 years later they got married. Aww. It's just amazing stuff.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. And it really was, and I didn't expect it to be, because I think when you have something held up quite high, I had a feeling I was going to think that Lyme Park was a bit rubbish. And the playground wasn't great.
The playground wasn't great, no. And there's like a playground in a wooded bit.
But we haven't added playground scores to...
No, we haven't, no.
So Lyme Park is second in the leaderboard.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Behind... And do you know what? If it was within striking distance, it would be one of our favourite places,
It would go regularly. Because as well, I don't know if we said, but the price to get in, it was half the price of Chatsworth.
And if we were members of the National Trust, it would be free.
Then you get it for nothing, yeah.
And to be honest, if it was close, we probably would be members of the National Trust.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. But it was lovely. And I picked up a couple of things.
Before you show that, the gold edition will be published within the next 48 hours, and it's a whopper. There's an extended tour of the house. There's so much content. Leia sent us so much great stuff, and the story was so in depth that we didn't have time to do a full tour of the house. So in the gold edition, there's a full tour of the house and extended outtakes as well.
Because of course the interiors of the house weren't used in Pride and Prejudice.
No. But also as well, isn't it, how amazing to think that that house exists down to one man's act of chivalry on a battlefield. You know, life's amazing, isn't it? How, you know, positive actions breed positive results. And that one most certainly bred a lot of positive results. Show us your book.
I picked up this when I was there. It's a BBC book that came out actually in 1995, but they're selling in the shop at Lyme Park. And it's brilliant. Really great. It's just full of, you know, information about the sets and the costumes and the actors and all kinds of things. So I'm working my way through it at the moment. It's just brilliant. If you really love Pride and Prejudice and you get a chance to go to Lyme Park, I don't know how else you would get this. Do you think it'll be available?
Yeah, I'd be
It's
shocked.
got an ISBN number on the back, so I mean you should just be able to pick it up. Really, really great book. I'm really enjoying reading that. And I put it in this bag. I saw this in the shop as well and had to get this. Look. How sweet is that?
Is that £4?
£4.
That's amazing.
I like this big canvas tote, and I've got Sven in there. I'm calling him Sven at the moment, but he will have a different name. But
That's
he's
amazing.
in there at the moment because all the yarn goes in there.
It's time for the Endy Bits.
Endy Bits.
Now, we're going to start the Endy Bits off with some... Well, it's not sad news. The next episode of the podcast will be 1 week later than normal.
It will.
It will be out on the 25th of August, and there's a reason for that. You may ask, how could we better today's new adventure? Well, that is the furthest we've ever gone for a new adventure. Mm-hmm. And we're about to beat that record by about 250 miles.
Yeah,
if not, no, more than that, probably 300 miles. Because it's not the next episode. The episode on the 25th will be a biscuit banter.
It's the one after.
And are we doing rich teas?
I haven't decided yet.
Okay.
Still haven't decided on the biscuit.
Okay, so Biscuit Banter will be back, and also Desert Island Discs will be back. But the episode after that, because I'm going to need time to edit this baby. The episode after that, last summer, you may remember, we took you on a hunt for Harry Potter.
That's true. Yeah.
And we thought that, and you all really enjoyed that. So we thought we'd take you on another hunt. But this time, we thought we'd go hunting for something that was potentially real. Now, come on.
Well, some would say
It could be.
it could be.
Well, we're going to
There's no evidence, but it could be.
We are going to find out. I'm throwing down the gauntlet.
Okay.
We're going to go out on the lake,
Right.
on the Loch Ness. We're going to look for the Loch Ness Monster.
We are.
Join us as we hunt for the Loch Ness Monster. Come on. How exciting is that?
Yeah, we're going to Scotland, everybody.
We will be going to Urquhart Castle, which will be a wonderful thing for us to do.
Yes.
Because we went there.
We did.
On our first ever holiday.
We did, and we'd only known each other
a short
a
amount
couple
of
of
time.
months.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a very special thing.
Very special. So we'll be going to Urquhart Castle, which you will have seen it.
Yeah.
Because it is iconic. It's been used in films, and the history of it's amazing. So we'll be going to look at the history, but the prime thrust of our adventure will be finding out where the Loch Ness Monster is, and if we can, we shall be asking him or her, what's on your needles?
Can you imagine? How funny.
That would be great. So
You never
25th
know, do you? You never
You
know.
don't? Well, you're going to. So 25th of August will be the next podcast episode. But patrons, panic not. Yes, our episode should have come out on the 18th, but you will have a very special Pop Live
Yep.
on the 20th
20th.
of August at 2 p.m.
Yeah.
British Summer Time. Of course, the recording will be published within 48 hours after that. But it will be a super special episode because we will literally have just returned from our filming adventure. And whilst I'm still pushing to try and sort out broadcasting live on Patreon, I'm still not completely confident in how well that's going to work.
Yeah.
So that one, and I really hope that this will be the last one. Unfortunately, there's been so much going on.
I know, it's been a very, very busy couple of weeks, yeah.
Which is exciting for you because there's been lots of cool things coming out, but that's just meant I've not had the time to really nail down if that's feasible or not. So hopefully this will be the final one that will be just on Facebook,
Yeah.
and then we'll be broadcasting live on Patreon from the September show onwards. And the Jane Austen Cal
Yes.
starts today.
Today, everybody.
Ooh.
You can all cast on your Jane Austen inspired projects. That can be inspired by the pattern, it can be inspired by the yarn, it can be anything. If you can link it to Jane Austen in some way, then you're good to go. So
I'm going to do something.
Are you going to do something?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
What are you going to do?
Well, I'm not telling you.
All right. It starts today and that runs right through till the end of September.
Exciting.
So get casting on. I've got one prize to show you so far, and it's a humdinger of a prize.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely
Oh, yes.
amazing prize.
We are absolutely delighted within Knitability to champion some of the shops which we know and love. And we've expanded, when we launched Knitability, we expanded it and it's become Meet the Vendor. So we actually interview these people. And I spotted this shop.
Yeah.
And the quality of the produce
It's beautiful.
looked amazing.
It's beautiful.
And then it arrived.
Oh my God, I didn't know this was arrived. I didn't know it was coming in. This parcel arrived and I was like, what's this? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I know what this is. It's from Marie Celeste Stitchers, is the Etsy shop. And now, how to pronounce this lady's name. I've Googled how to pronounce your name.
And what did it say?
Well, I've got two different versions.
Oh, no.
She's from the Netherlands. It's a Dutch name. Now, it's either, and it could be none of these, it's either Wilhelmine, could be.
Well, it could be.
Or another pronunciation I got was Willimogen.
It can't be that.
I don't think it can be that.
I think the
Well,
first one
somebody
said-
spoke it like that. I think it's more likely to be Wilhelmine.
But
That
we don't
sounds-
know.
But we don't know.
So tell us.
So please.
Which was right?
Which,
And
or
there's only
any,
one person.
or neither.
There's only one person who can answer this question.
Yeah. So she sent this amazing
So
parcel.
is it A
Wilhelmine
or is it B?
Willimogen.
Or is it C? None of the above.
So I'm so sorry. I've really tried to get the pronunciation right. But she sent this amazing parcel. And I think that card's handmade. I think this is handmade. It's like paper and oh, it's just beautiful. And you will have seen all through the episode. Have you seen this bag here that's been sat here? This is I get to keep this one. Look. Harry Potter #7, Gryffindor. Look, look, look. And of course, we're on this big Harry Potter summer thing at the moment with Bryony. I'm working my way through the films with her. She was a bit of trepidation watching the later films, but we're actually through 5 films now. Just finished watching yesterday Goblet of Fire, the one after that.
Order of the Phoenix.
Yes, we just watched The Order of the Phoenix yesterday, and actually I quite enjoyed it. Shouldn't say that, should I? So this has got what will be my Gryffindor socks in for Bryony. Beautiful bag, so I'm keeping that one. And then she sent this other one as well. Oh my goodness, I've left it in the cellophane, but look. It's Liberty fabric on this beautiful linen.
It is. I mean, genuinely.
It's beautiful.
It's stunning.
It's beautiful. And I did take it out of the bag and the lining is just a plain cream. But, even like all the seams are hand sewn, where sometimes it's machine seamed. Then, the closures, it's hand sewn and she's got a little tag on the back. And even, I'm sorry for the crinkling, I wanted to keep it nice. These sections here are hand sewn. It looks like it's hand sewn. It's really beautiful. And she also sent a few other things, so I'm putting it into a little parcel. She sent this really cute pattern for these little, hello little monkeys.
It's a mini Magoo.
How cute, and it tells you exactly how to
is
make it.
Is this all part?
This is one price.
Ooh.
And then she also sent a couple of progress keepers, which I'm presuming you made yourself. So they're going to go in there as well. And I kept the beautiful wrapping paper because it was so prettily wrapped. So that's going to be one prize.
For the Jane Austen Cal.
For the Jane Austen Cal. And there will be others. I'll probably dye some yarn, I think.
Amazing.
So that's the first prize I've got.
And we're delighted to say, that, and as I started saying at the start there, she'll be featured in the next issue of Knitability, which is out on the 1st of September.
I went to look at her shop straight away, actually. It's on holiday at the moment. I think she's on holiday with her family.
She is. Get ready to meet her properly in the next issue.
And she sent me this as well.
Excited about it.
She sent me this. Look. Oh, it's so cute. It's an embroidery book with all these cute templates. I've never done anything like this. But look, it's got all these cute templates of things that you can embroider. It's so sweet. So I'm going to have a look at that because I'm really tempted to have a go at that. It's just really lovely. To embroider a panel and then make it into a bag, I think would just be adorable. So thank you so much. It's so kind of you. It's such a fantastic parcel to receive.
Absolutely. And she also sent these.
You haven't tried it.
I should try one.
It's licorice. She sent some hard licorice.
I should try it now. While I'm getting out this hard licorice.
Yeah.
The Longbourn is out today.
Yay.
And there it is. I now have my licorice out.
Okay.
So I can try it. Here we go.
While you're just trying that, I'll just show you the last couple.
Oh my goodness, these are really nice.
Oh, good. I'll have to try one. The last couple of things I just wanted to let you know is whilst we're on the Pride and Prejudice theme, the yarn collaboration that I did with Deb, if you remember, the Dashing Darcy that Deb did, and Dearest Loveliest Elizabeth, I Died. These will be, if you're watching this podcast straight away, these will be going into our relevant shops tomorrow. That's Saturday, the 5th of August. Deb's is at 6 p.m. British Summer Time. Mine is at 7 p.m. British Summer Time. So we did just that small gap so that you could get one and then go and get the other if you wanted to do that. So they'll be in the shop tomorrow if you're watching this in time to see that. But I did put a post on Instagram as well. And then the very last thing I've just got to talk about is I've got the yarn that I'm going to knit my revised version of the Messalina with. And I'm so thrilled that I'm using this yarn because you all know that this is my absolute favourite yarn of all time, I think I can say. And I've knit two designs I think I've used this yarn for. And I'm going to be using the Blacker Swan. It's Blacker Yarns, Blacker Swan, Falkland Island wool, the DK. So I've not knit a project with the DK, I've normally used the 4-ply. But this is the colour I'm going to use. And it's the prettiest shade, it's called Pebble. And it's a grey, but actually in some lights it's got a greenish tinge to it. It's a really fabulous colour, and it was perfect for the Messalina because it made me think of Roman walls and, you know, all that association. So thank you so much to the lovely people at Blacker for allowing me to use this yarn. I'm super excited to cast on. It's so beautiful. If you've never used this yarn, honestly, I can't recommend it highly enough. If you can get your hands on some, it's absolutely beautiful to knit with. It washes and blocks like a dream. It's so soft and lovely, but it's got a bit of added Shetland. It's Falkland, but then it's got a little bit of added Shetland just to give it some strength. It's perfect. It's the absolute perfect yarn, in my opinion. I love it. And the colour choices are beautiful.
Are you finished?
I am finished.
Wonderful.
Wow.
So, that's the end.
With my chainmail top on today.
What an episode 80. I've had the best time.
Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the Pemberley thing because I've so been looking forward to going, and I know that a lot of you could probably never ever get there, but hopefully
we're never going again
in real life. But
I'm never doing that journey again, Kate.
Well, it's quite a journey, but it was really worth it. It was a very long day, but it was really worth it.
Epicness.
So I hope you really enjoyed it and felt like you were there, and it was back in 1995 and Mr Darcy was there and you could go and get dressed up like Mr Darcy.
The perfect way to launch Kay's Longbourn.
Yeah.
Which, as we've said, is out today. Episode 81, Biscuit Banter and Desert Island Discs, but episode 82, join us as we go hunting for Loch Ness, which will be amazing. The bag tutorial, as we showed you earlier, the bag tutorial continues on Tuesday next week and then runs all the way through the summer. And there's lots of other things going on. I can't remember what we've got going on the Thursdays, but there's all sorts of fun and games going on.
So fun.
Patrons, get ready for Lots of exciting things. And then, of course, as we said at the start of this section, the next Pop Live, Facebook, as normal, recording on Patreon within 48 hours, and that will be on the 20th of August.
Yeah.
And we've established now that we're changing Pop Live. We had a subject that we focused on the last Pop Live, and that's what we're going to do from now on.
Yeah, I think so.
So we're going to have a theme. Last time it was patterns and the Longbourn. Who knows what it'll be next time?
Yeah.
We shall.
It was fun, wasn't it?
It was absolutely fun.
It's very interactive. We love doing pop. It's so fun, you know,
Yeah.
to be able to chat back and forth to you know,
Yeah.
whilst we're doing it. And
It's great.
We always have huge laughs and great fun, and
Yeah.
there's no editing, obviously.
No.
You know, because it's live,
So
so
anything can
you
happen.
see anything, yeah.
So that's the end of the show. We'll see you in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Or in 2 weeks, of course, if you're a
If
patron.
you're a patron, yeah.
Was it sitting and knitting and standing K the bakery bears? Enthusiasm's not quitting for Dan and K the bakery bears. They'll take you to fabulous places of which they're favorites they'll share. You better buy a pattern and get yourself a bakery bear. You'll find yourself in a castle while watching the bakery bears. It never feels like a hassle to sit and watch the bakery bears. What's on your shelf or what's in your oven, or maybe a shawl you'll want to wear. So sit yourself right down